Hi, Hunter Hastings here. As entrepreneurs, as business people, as people who work in business, we're aiming to create value for others. That's a very outer-directed way of thinking. We look at markets, we look at people, we look at their needs, and we try to meet them. It's a very noble profession. And we work hard at it. There's another concept that's more inner-directed, which is very complementary. And it's the idea of inner excellence. And today we're going to talk to Jim Murphy. He has a book called Inner Excellence, the subtitle of which is Train Your Mind for Extraordinary Performance and the Best Possible Life. I found it really interesting, much different than the average self-help or coaching or training book, but a really different way of thinking about how to elevate your own performance and those around you for the good of your customers and the good of everybody in the world. So here is Jim Murphy.
This is the Value Creators Podcast, your source for a new kind of business education, escaping from business administration mode and entering dynamic entrepreneurship mode. We're guided by entrepreneurial economics, which is the source of all growth and positive change for businesses of all sizes in all markets. We talk to experienced experts in value creation so that there's business learning for you in every episode.
Jim, welcome to the Value Creators Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You have a wonderful book and a consulting and a coaching practice around your concept of inner excellence. And we're going to explore that today. We're going to explore it in the context of what we think of as the entrepreneurial mindset in business. And I'm going to try to draw a parallel to that and maybe have you help us navigate those two things, inner excellence in business.
Let's do it.
So starting with definitions, your book, Inner Excellence, I'm going to compress it a little bit, but you emphasize, I compete to raise my level of excellence so that I can help others or raise others' levels. And we define the entrepreneurial ethic of my goal is to create value for others, and I'll get rewarded by the marketplace for doing that. So that's the parallel I'm trying to draw here. So tell us more about your definition of the concept of inner excellence, how you arrived at it, and how it aligns.
Slightly different than that entrepreneurial definition. So the mindset is I compete or I work to raise the level of excellence in my life, to learn and grow in order to raise it in others. And I think the one that you mentioned was, can you say yours
creating
again?
Value for others and then getting the reward of the marketplace for doing that.
Yeah. And so I think for an entrepreneur, an athlete, anybody, the most value that anyone can create is in their own hearts. Because that's where extraordinary happens. That's where extraordinary starts. If you want to be a great entrepreneur, if you want to be great at anything, starts in your heart. That's where all great creativity starts and everything else.
Well, tell us more about that, Jim. I picked that up from the book, the idea of heart, but it's a little difficult to kind of embrace that idea. What is heart? I mean, it's a physical thing. It's beating in your chest, but is it a spirit?
Sure.
What is it?
Yeah, so I define heart as the deepest part of you, like your soul. I use the words will and spirit and heart interchangeably. So we're far more than thinking machines. In fact, most people don't get too deep past the thought life. And the problem with that is that we become fused with our thoughts. And if we think a negative thought, then we feel bad because we're so closely attached to our thoughts. But the reality is that you are not your mind and you are not your thoughts. We're going to have terrible thoughts in our head sometimes. And one of the biggest things that separates the people that are extraordinary in anything is their ability to separate negative thoughts and negative circumstances and results from themselves.
Yeah, that's a very challenging idea. We'll get to it in a second, but let me explore another word that we use a lot in business and in entrepreneurship is mindset. If you have the right mindset of pursuing excellence and externally oriented, and we talk about things like that, collaboration mindsets. Is mindset a word that we can use? Do you use that one?
Yeah, so that's kind of the inner excellence mindset. Is I compete to raise the level of excellence in my life, to learn and grow in order to raise it in others. So when I think about mindset, I think of the whole purpose for why you get up, why you're working. If you're in business, why are you doing it all? What's the final end goal? And the mindset is kind of this captures that pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
For most people that I've worked with, most humans, the pursuit is very surface level. Just want to make more money, just want to be more successful in what I call the third world, the world of results and circumstances. And the problem is that so much is out of your control that it becomes a very hit and miss, stressful situation. But when you develop your inner world, then you're better at everything that you do, and can be far more successful in business.
Yeah, so your book is very, very challenging in a lot of areas. It makes you think deeply. And this idea that I am not my thoughts, that I'm something different from my thoughts. You would even invent these or insert these ideas of types of thoughts: the critic, the monkey mind, and the trickster. And they're in there, and they're alien beings. They're trying to put you off your track. So how can I divorce myself from my thoughts? Say more about that. That sounds really a hard thing to do.
Well, the reason why we're so caught up in our thoughts, attached to our thoughts, is because we're attached to the image of who we think we are, and we're attached to ourselves, which means we're attached to our past. Our past, the image we have of who we've been, and that's human nature, is getting attached to that, and that's very problematic because we're being human means we have weaknesses, we make many mistakes, and so. Self-centeredness is the biggest challenge that we face in performance and in life. And I went to the desert to figure that out. Inner excellence was 5 years of full-time writing and research, and that was kind of one of the big breakthroughs that I found out, because it leads to fear, and those three areas that you mentioned: the monkey mind, the critic, and the trickster. The monkey mind being this mind that's way too many thoughts from way too many concerns, this anxiety. The critic is the part of our mind that's constantly judging, always evaluating circumstances, even though we don't know what's good or bad circumstance-wise for the most part. And then the trickster, that part of our mind that's always comparing, always threatened, never satisfied, and lies to you. Your own mind will lie to you. So that's important to understand.
Yeah. So you say that we can control our thoughts, or manage our thoughts, or be conscious of them and react to them in a certain way. Tell us a little bit more about that. How do I control my thoughts? They're there.
Yeah, thoughts are where you place your attention is one of the most powerful things that you have in this life is where you place your attention, because as humans, we're led around by our eyes, and we see something beautiful, then we think beautiful thoughts, and we see something ugly, we think scary thoughts. That's kind of human nature. So the great artist is the one that can see something that's not beautiful and think beautiful thoughts. So the inner excellence is the pursuit of heart transformation, where we can become selfless and therefore fearless.
And is that active, Jim? I can actively work at doing that and becoming better at that?
Yeah. Well, one of the big reasons why we get attached to our thoughts is because we have a deep need to be right, for one thing. And it all stems from our deepest need is for love and connection. The deepest human need is for love and connection deep in our heart. Your heart is where your greatest fears are and your greatest dreams are. And so if you want to help anybody, including yourself, we've got to get deeper. We're far more than thinking machines. We've got to get to a deeper level where your subconscious is working with your heart. And because everything that you think, say, and do comes from your heart and your subconscious. So we want to get to that heart transformation, and that would lead us into talking about beliefs, because beliefs is really what's running your life.
Well, it's another point in your book that we can change our beliefs. So I guess first we have to recognize them, then how do we change them?
Yeah. Self-awareness is really, really difficult. It's I think the easiest person to deceive is ourselves. And so it's difficult for many reasons. One is that because our deep need is for love and acceptance, and so our greatest fear is rejection. And that's where, if I screw this up, if I fail, I'm going to get rejected by the world, and that is very, very scary, because that's my biggest fear. That's humans' biggest fear. And so there's a lot of aspects to it.
Well, one of the elements we talk about a lot in entrepreneurship, Jim, is uncertainty. The world is uncertain. You can't predict the future. You've got to make decisions in that world of uncertainty, and the result can be the opposite of what you planned. It can be failure. That sounds like one of those rejections that maybe we react to. So how do you guide people in this navigation of uncertainty that can feel like rejection?
There's a samurai tool. A tool is something you use in the moment when you're nervous or anxious or just not present. What do I do right now? So that's what I call tools that are in the book. One of them is this exercise where you take a long, slow, deep breath in, always through the nose, and you say, I expect, and then hold, and then you release and say nothing with your exhale longer than your inhale. Ideally, 10 to 12 seconds or longer for your breath. And to me, that is it's saying, I have no needs. As humans, we can be very needy. I need this person to act a certain way. I need them to be on time. I need this. I need that. And when you have these needs, then life is full of challenges and easily frustrated. But when we have no needs, then we can be free to create something special. And one of the disciplines, or sorry, one of the skills of inner excellence is to be able to adjust to any situation. And so when we need certain things, then we can adjust. But if we have no needs, then we can adjust to anything.
Is that very present oriented? So all of those bad things I did in the past, mistakes I made, and so on, they were in the past. And if I read the book correctly, you say you'll be aware of that and don't carry the past around with you. I've got the present, which is the moment when I can act. The future's uncertain. So are you telling us to be focused on the present entirely?
Yeah, so inner excellence is really an in-depth system on how to be fully present.
Say more.
So fear is a self-centered thing. It's based on self and based on the future. And in the present moment, there's no fear. And so if we're fully present, if I was fully present throughout the day, so today here in Spain, it's after 6. So it wasn't just one long day full of bliss for me. It was, I'm human. I have hopes and dreams and things I'm working on, and I'm in a new country trying to get things set up, and things don't always go how you want them. And so the number one thing with inner excellence is your energy. There's so much out of your control, way too much to be caught up in what you want and can't control. We need to visualize our goals and dreams, but then the number one thing is your energy every day, the vibe that you have. We want to have this non-judgmental awareness. So the first principle of inner excellence is that everything is here to teach me and help me. It's all working for my good. And the key word there is that first word, everything. Is here to. It's all here to teach me and help me. It's all working for my good. And so when I've forgotten that, when I've gotten off track with that, and like I said, as humans, we're kind of led around by our eyes. And so it's easy to read something or see something that's negative or not what you want. And then you kind of go to that negative route. Then one thought attracts another thought. That's why we need to have set up our environment that's very oriented around what's possible and what's true. And when I say true, I mean capital T true, because when I think of little t true, I think of like this couch is true. It's real, and this computer is real, but they're temporary. And so capital T true is what I think of anything that lasts forever.
So one of the areas of entrepreneurship that we talk about is feedback loops. So it sounds like that's quite close to what you're talking about. Everything is helping me. It's for my good, whatever it is. So we we urge people to look at feedback. It's all positive because you're learning. You're finding something out. You can adjust as a result of feedback. So can I make that parallel?
Yeah, I mean, the number one goal in Inner Excellence every day is to learn and grow. It doesn't matter what day it is. If it could be the biggest, most important day of your life that you think is the most important day, or the least important day. The same goal every day: learn and grow.
How do you define?
And so, no,
I was going to say, how do you define learning?
Well, that's a good question because there's two parts of that: learn and grow. And so, what do we want to learn, and how do we grow? And then, how do I define learning? Well, I think maybe starting off with what do I want to learn? I kind of think of it in three kind of broad areas: love, wisdom, and courage. Wisdom being the unobstructed view of beauty, connections, and possibilities. And love is the most powerful force in the universe, this fearless energy that holds the earth and spins the earth and holds the stars in place and grows the grass. And then courage is that willingness to step into this present moment no matter what it has, with love and wisdom. And so I want to learn how to be more loving because I want to be fearless, and I want to seek wisdom, which is the greatest thing you can ever pursue. I also think of it as how to understand who God is, and therefore who you are, what He's doing in the world, and how you can join in the creator, the energy of the creator of the universe, getting into that energy. And courage, I think of as the number one trait of the most successful people on the planet in anything. They're willing to fail, willing to look foolish, willing to make mistakes. And so, yeah.
So those are you call them core pillars, I think, or core principles: the love, the wisdom, and the courage. Wisdom sounds like something you might acquire over time, but you can't necessarily pursue. Is that right? Or
well, I think you can definitely pursue it, but it depends on how you define it. Like I said, for me, wisdom is the pursuit of first of all, I think of it as to know who God is, and therefore who you are, what He's doing in the world, and how you can join in. Similarly, say you're an atheist, then it would be to have the pursuit of unobstructed views of beauty and connections, because we're created for relationship and possibilities. So how do we have an unobstructed view of that? We've got to get out of the way. Our ego is the biggest challenge that we face. That's this self-centeredness that has this deep need, this human nature to be right. And it really hurts our ability to learn. And so I think learning is the ability to let go of your ego and to be willing to fail greatly. That's what you need to learn.
love, you said, is a state of being. That is it one that we can all attain if we try?
Well, when I think of love, I think of the word unconditional, which is not human nature. If I love you with loving acts over and over, and then you keep rejecting these loving acts, and then you return it with something negative, human nature is, okay, I've had about enough of that, right? That's human nature. And so, in one sense, it's not human to love unconditionally, endlessly. But I think everyone has, or most people have felt some sort of unconditional love. It could be for their dog, it could be for beauty, for nature, for a person, or have felt received it or given it. But that's where the power is.
There's another section in your book that concerns beliefs and dreams, and you distinguish between them, I think. So I'll ask you to do that for us. But we returned to the point earlier where you can change your beliefs. But so distinguish that. How should entrepreneurs or anybody think about their beliefs and their dreams, and how should they pursue those dreams?
Yeah, so I think of kind of three things here: goals and dreams and beliefs. So I think of goals. Most people think of goals as these tangible outcomes, like I want to make a sale, I want to make $1 million, or get 1 million followers, or hit 300 as a baseball player. So that's what a lot of people think of as goals. And goals are great, but what's far more important to me is your imagination and the system you have for getting better every day. Those two things, because we need to develop habits of how do we get better. That's what's crucial. And when I think of beliefs, I think that's the most important part about any person is what they believe. What do you believe about the universe? What do you believe about yourself, about God, about what's possible, about others, about humanity? All of that. That's the most important thing, because that's what's running your life. And so you have a belief about every area of your life. And inner excellence is the pursuit of expanding what you believe is possible.
So, if I may ask, and I'm doing this for illustrative purposes, if a person asked you, "What do you believe, Jim?" How would you respond to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I believe that we as humans were created for glory, which I define as the brilliance and weightiness of unlimited inherent worth, far more than the cover of a magazine or getting 1 million followers. That's what we're created for. I believe that the potential of everyone watching and listening to this is far, far greater than they've ever imagined. And the reason why they can go much, much farther than they have gone, because they can be more selfless and therefore more fearless. Because when you're at your very best, let's say you fly to the most amazing museum in the world, and you look at the most amazing art in the world, and maybe that's the Grand Canyon. You're not thinking about yourself, and you may or may not be thinking about the artist. Most likely, you're caught up in that moment, in the beauty, and that's what inner excellence is every day. How can we get into that energy of there's no self anymore? It's completely selfless. Because when I've been doing this coaching thing for a while now, and um, when athletes and performers are at their best, there's no thoughts of self. There's no self-concern or self-protection. But the people that are listening, and I think everyone that's watching can ask themselves, have I lived in self-protection today? Because that's where
Mm-hmm.
fear is. And so when we get out of our own way, get out of that self-protection, get into that selflessness through love, then we can be fearless. And then I believe that's where anything is possible, far more than we've ever seen.
You mention in the book self-actualization, the Abraham Maslow concept. We're familiar with that, I think. It's the top of a pyramid, that the ultimate that you arrive at after struggling through the lower layers. Are you saying that that's self-actualization? That's the wrong thing to be searching for. Selfless is the right thing, or should I relate those differently?
Well, in the book, I call it selfless
Yeah.
actualization. So I like Maslow's idea. I feel like to make it a little more powerful, we would call it selfless actualization. And I think if you were to fully actualize, like Maslow is saying, then you'd become your true self. And I think of your true self as completely selfless and therefore
Yeah.
fearless.
And then, is that achievable, do you think, that selflessness?
Well, I think most people have achieved it at
Yeah.
moments during their lives. I think I've felt it here and there. The problem is you're talking to a person who's been extremely self-centered. And so, but I hope you'll bear with me. I'm working on it.
We all are, I'm sure. So, staying in this area of selflessness, one of the things we're trying to explore, the whole business community is trying to explore, is the new way of organizing a business, where the old paradigm was this top-down, layered hierarchy of authority kind of machine. The new world seems to be in some kind of flat, collaborative, but not coercive kind of organization, to be much more comfortable with emergence. If you put a bunch of good people together, good things will happen. Can I relate your kinds of thinking to that new way of organizing business, to exit the old hierarchical authority into something new?
Well, here's what happened to me in my mind that changed everything. A few years ago, the number one earner on YouTube was a 5-year-old kid, and he made $20 million, something like that. And so that changed everything. Now the universe, the world, I should say, is far different. 20 years ago, someone that's making that kind of money is an international superstar. They have some sort of major talent in some way. But now you can be a 5-year-old kid opening up gifts and be earning $20 million. You don't need any talent. I don't mean to disparage the 5-year-old, but anyone can do it now. And so it's a very different world out there for business. And I think it just means that there's unlimited opportunity for all of us, regardless of education level and where we're at right now.
We're delighted to announce the Value Creators online course. For entrepreneurs in every kind of business, big, small, or medium, at every stage, in every industry, our course provides the foundations and principles on which to build success. Simple, clear purpose and principles give rise to creativity, innovation, and competitively superior business action. There are 11 foundational principles or mental models that together cohere into the value business model. Principles for value generation, principles for value operations, principles for value finance and accounting, and principles for value sustainability, as well as the new knowledge accumulation you'll need for continuous innovation. These principles are delivered by top business professors from top business schools: Mark Packard, Per Byland, Gordon Miller, David Rapp, and Bart Vanderhagen. You'll find video lessons from them, along with downloadable tools, processes, and other valuable content. Master these lessons, and you'll master the most important skill in business: value creation. Go to thevaluecreators.com and click the course link. Yeah, so that idea of individual excellence, I think you can translate that, at least I do in my head, to this new entrepreneurial economy, the YouTube entrepreneurs and so on, the TikTok entrepreneurs. A lot of your book is about individual excellence, but is there collective excellence? We talk about teams and projects and so on like that. Can inner excellence apply to those teams, or is it all individual?
I don't think of inner excellence as individual, because in the very beginning of the book, it says that, you're created for relationship, that the quality of your relationships is really the quality of your life. The quality of your relationships is the quality of your ability to be an entrepreneur. It's the quality of the success of your business. How good are you at relating? And so to be good at relating to others means your energy and your ability to communicate. Those are kind of the two big ones.
Yeah, there's a concept of relationship capital, which is, as you say, the quality of your relationships determines the success that you can have in the marketplace, whether that's with customers or suppliers. If you think of it in those terms, relationships as capital, that's one way of looking at business.
Well, the most important thing to understand is that, world-class athletes and performers come to me because they want to perform better. And really, they're coming to me for surface level achievements. Even if they want to win a gold medal, Olympic gold medal, or be world number one, it's really a surface level thing, because it may not even create happiness, let alone joy. Happiness I define as a positive temporary feeling based on what's happening. Get good circumstances, you're happy. If they're not good, then you're not. Whereas joy, I think of as a deep sense of well-being and freedom and gratitude and inner buoyancy, independent of circumstances. So they're in essence, they come to me for happiness. I teach them how to pursue joy. If you're in business and your number one goal is to make money or get 1 million followers, it's really stressful and difficult. But if your goal is to make a difference in the world, then one, start with your own heart, because that's the biggest challenge that you face. And the greatest need in the world is for me to have a heart transformed. Um, so
Yeah, so performance maybe is something that we shouldn't pursue, right? It's a diversion. It's not the right thing it's the wrong value.
well, it depends on how you define it, and like we both like to define terms. In one sense, every day we're performing. Just we're going to have a good day or not a good day. Everyone wants to have a good day, so you can think of that as a performance. That might be not really the best description of our day, but um, I think maybe better is can I walk in love, not fear? Because I think we're either walking in one or the other, some sort of love or some sort of fear. We're either um, um, walking in connection or disconnection, or in gratitude or in entitlement.
Let me move on to another point in your book, which I really enjoyed and I try really hard at and I find very difficult, and that is being unoffendable, unembarrassable, and unirritable. So it sounds like an entrepreneurial super strength, right? Rejecting failure and that kind of thing. But tell us about those. Are those possible?
Yeah, I'm still working on it. I've got a long ways to go. I've never said I'm really good at inner excellence. I just want to be. So when I think of inner excellence, one of the things I think about is self mastery. And when I think of mastery, I think of mastering the ego, the part of our mind always threatened, always comparing, never satisfied. And when I think of the ego, I think of mastering the ego. I think of those three things: being unoffendable, unembarrassable, and unirritatable. So one way that you can think about it is climbing a mountain. People come to me because they want to achieve great things. So say you want to make millions of dollars, or be have these extraordinary businesses. And so I think of it as climbing this mountain. And the higher you climb, the more exposed you are, the air gets thinner, and the farther you fall if you crash. More people see you, more people are staring. Hey, who's that guy up there? What is she doing? What's that? Who does she think she is? And so, if you're not ready for that, if you're not willing to fall a long way and fail and have that sort of possible embarrassment, then pick a smaller mountain. Don't try to do something great. If you want to do something that's really close to your potential, the only way is got to be willing to fail, and that's mastering your ego. The question is, see, I never tell people what to do. I try not to. I just help them clarify what they want most, and I help them get it. And so I'm not saying you should have no ego. I never say you should do anything. I just saying here's what I've learned and what I'm working on, and here's what might help you. And with the ego, I've noticed that in my life, it's really hurt my ability to live an extraordinary life, to live the best possible life. It's created fear, it's created anxiety and frustration and poor performance, stress, white knuckles. Like, what if something happens? What if I fail? This real fear. And I really want to be fearless. And you can't be fearless when you have a mind that's always threatened.
So are we controlling our ego, or are we changing it into something else that will help us get to the joy and the love that you're talking about?
I think of it as surrendering it. Surrender as the most powerful thing that someone can do. Surrender. Here's how you think about surrender. Um, think of a sunflower surrendering to the sun. Think about um, uh, a kid surrendering their little lollipop for a much greater one. Surrender your little lollipop for the whole candy store. Like, surrender your little power, your little understanding for the power of the universe. That's how I think of surrender.
And is that inevitable? We've got to surrender something before we can get to the higher level?
Yeah, yeah. You can't steal second base with one foot on first base.
Yeah. So
you got to let go of your past. If you want to get anywhere, you got to let go of your past, and that's the hardest thing. That's why so many people never they get stuck because they can't let go of their past, hanging on to their fears, hanging on to who they've been. If you want to be someone great, you've got to be willing to become someone you've never been before, which means you got to be willing to face feelings you've never wanted to face before.
So is it something we should be thinking about all the time? What do I need to surrender here to get to the next higher level?
I think, yeah, it's powerful to have in your mind. It's like, is this an ego thing here? Um, like, I'll give you an example. I was in Madrid walking out of an Apple store after 45 minutes of getting nothing. And I really wanted something, wanted some help with my computer, and I didn't get it. And I was like, doggone it. I was like negative, judgmental. And then so I did a little check in. Okay, what's happening here? And I was like, well, they didn't give me this, they did that. Just got the runaround. And then I was like, okay, what's really happening? You're just frustrated because you didn't get what you wanted. Okay, so is that how you want to feel? You're going to go about your day like that? No, I don't want to feel like this. So I was like, okay, we need a tool right now. I need to do something right now to change this energy. So I did the float up technique. No, well, first I did the reset, which is pick a spot above the horizon, stare at it, eyes open, because we stare at it. I put on my Jetsons helmet, which is this intergalactic space helmet from the cartoons that in my mind blocks all the thoughts that are going to come. So no thoughts, and sometimes I can feel the thoughts coming. Got my space helmet on. They're going to bounce off. I'm just staring at the spot. So for 2 long, slow, deep breaths, I'm staring at the spot. So just no thoughts for those 2 breaths. So I did that, and then I did the float up technique, where you float up to like 100 feet or 200 feet or 1,000 feet up, and let your body stay down there and your problems down there, and like, oh, what's going on? So kind of separate yourself from your circumstances. And so I did that, and then that was also very helpful. Then I turned on my music playlist. I've got several playlists that are correlated with how I want to feel and what I want to believe, and so put that on, and then I was golden.
And you call those tools, right? The things you can use in the moment to change your mindset.
Yeah, I probably need them more than most people.
Well, for people listening, there's a lot of them in the book, and you can practice them, and they're really useful. One other point I wanted to think about was focus. You say that's a life skill in inner excellence. I know I personally have a horrible time with that. I'm always making lists, and then there's too many things to do, and I don't know what to do first, and then I'm not doing something if I do something else, and I get unfocused, and then people doing business, that's a constant problem. Help us with focus. How do you advise people on focus?
Sure. Is that something you want to continue to have a terrible time with focus?
No, I'd like that not to happen.
Okay, awesome. So first thing we'll do is we'll change how you speak. So you said I have a terrible time with focus. Did I get that right?
I did, yeah.
So every time, this is very common. So a pro athlete or anyone will come to me and they'll say something negative about themselves that they don't want to continue. But they'll say it as if it's true in the present moment. And what they mean is they look at their past and look at patterns, and they'll say, oh, here's what I do. That's very common. Most people do it, right? Like you said, I'm terrible at focusing. And what I think you meant was, in the past, in your life up until now, there's been times where you haven't focused like you wanted to. Is that right?
That would be right.
Right. And so, but you said that I'm terrible at focusing or whatever. You kind of put this label on you. And so beliefs is what's running our lives. And so what we want to do is, inner excellence is expanding what you believe is possible. So it really starts with our language. And the way we do it is there's a discipline that goes like this: speak the truth about the past to create possibilities in the future. So we never never put any negative label on ourselves, and we never say anything that's in the past as if it's ongoing and in the present. So the more truthful for you to say would be, in the past, I haven't always focused how I wanted, like something like that. Or in the past, I haven't always been fully engaged in each and every moment of my life. Same idea, but we want to make sure that we're saying it in a positive way. Because when we say something in the beliefs are feelings, And every time we reinforce a belief, it brings a feeling. The feeling is what really reinforces it. Feelings are so powerful because if you get one really strong negative feeling, it can become a belief in a split second that you carry with you the rest of your life. The amazing thing, and that's how phobias are formed. The amazing thing is that you can have the most limiting belief or the strongest phobia, and it also can be changed very, very quickly. Any phobia can be cured. Any mental block can be released and changed.
Because it's in the past.
Well, it's a belief, and beliefs are changeable. You get to believe whatever you want.
That's fascinating thought. See if I can tie this up in a bow. Your book talks about living a full life. When we're in business, we tend to be highly focused on that, to use that word again, and maybe we don't find time for other things, or people talk about work-life balance. I don't like that concept, but it puts a light on what the challenge is. How do I know if I'm living a full life? How do I define it for myself?
So with Inner Excellence, there's a term called Zoe, which is a Greek word that means absolute fullness of life. And when I was writing the book, I wanted to write. I spent, like I said, 5 years full-time writing and research, 2.5 years in the desert when I gave away over half my possessions, including my TV. This was before streaming, and went to live a life of solitude. And after I was in the middle of the research, and I asked Jennifer from my church if she could take a look at the manuscript, and she said, I read Inner Excellence. Have you ever heard of the word Zoe? I said, no. She said, it means absolute fullness of life. I think that's what your book is about. And I said, yes, I've my whole life I've obsessed about being a superstar, when what I've always really wanted was to be fully alive. And so Inner Excellence is the pursuit of fullness of life. And the only way we can do that is by surrendering our own limitations, our own weakness, our ego, our pride, our past for something far, far more powerful, which I would highly recommend to be the creator of the universe.
Is Zoe a concept from philosophy? Is it Greek? Where does it come from?
Yeah, Greek word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had that concept in their philosophy back then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a history major, but yeah, it's definitely in biblical times.
Yeah. Well, Jim, there's so much to learn from your book. It's very inspiring. There's a lot of things to practice. It makes you think. It really is something uplifting, and I believe there's something in there for everybody. We'll link to the book, link to your website. Is there any other way you'd like people to find out about Inner Excellence?
Well, if you go to my website, innerexcellence.com, you can sign up for the newsletter, and we'll actually be switching to Substack soon, if we haven't already, by the time you hear this. Instagram is Inner Excellence Jim Murphy, and then I'm on most of the rest of the social media files. We also have a Facebook group.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Jim. This is, as I say, uplifting and inspiring, and I hope a lot of people get a lot of help from it. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight.
I enjoyed it.
This has been another episode of the Value Creators Podcast. Thanks for listening. You can visit thevaluecreators.com for links and resources related to this episode, and check hunterhastings.com for more content on entrepreneurial business management based on value creation principles.